All right, we are going to take a look at Josh Dix. Just finished his career at Creighton, 6'6" shooting guard. The title here says 6'6" shooting guard who's shot ready and steadily patient. And I think if you were to summarize his game, you would say that he's shot ready. He only shot 34% from the 3-point line this season on 6 attempts. But you can see here in his previous 3 seasons, really his previous 2, when he had a little bit of volume to it, he shot over 40% from the 3-point line. His first 3 years were at the University of Iowa before transferring to Creighton for his senior season. And the second part of the sentence is steadily patient. So we will take a look at a bunch of film, but what that means is he's able to probe the defense well, is very patient, plays within the flow of the offense, can be a secondary ball handler, get his shot up off of his dribbles, both with his right hand or his left hand, but also can change of pace, change of direction, and he's patient. So he'll move the ball. He'll always make the right basketball play, most times for the better. Sometimes you want him to be a little bit more aggressive. And you can see that in his shot distribution, that 77% of his offensive attempts were jump shots, whereas 23% of his offensive attempts were at the rim. So you want him, he's not averse to driving to the hoop, but he's not finishing over the trees down low. And a lot of times when he gets into the teeth of the defense, into the painted area, he'll try to, back the ball out. He only had 3 attempts that were considered runners this season. So of his 374 shot attempts, only 3 of them were runners or floaters. Just kind of illuminates the fact that he doesn't love stopping for a floater or a runner, but he can get to the rim if he needs to, pick and roll or around his man. Nothing spectacular in that regard. More of a jump shooter for sure. And we'll get into all of that. A lot of fadeaways, one-legged, snaking through the defense, probing the defense, hesitations, faking one way, going the other, pulling up off the dribble, catch and shoot. He's capable of all of that. And he's a good cutter as well. He's very smart backdoor cutter. He's 17 for 23 on cuts, 74%, and ranked highly in the points per possession percentile on cutting efficiency. He also won the Big East Sportsmanship Award this season. He went through some personal trials and tribulations that give him, only the best well wishes and prayers and, everything for. And quite frankly, it's not really appropriate for me to comment on those matters. So just absolutely wish Josh Dix and his family absolutely nothing but the best as he moves forward through this, difficult year and into this hopefully promising basketball future. So here he is, number 4 with the ball. And you can just see he's patient. These clips just illustrating how he's steadily patient. Also very good at the skip pass. We'll see that time and time again. Sometimes he forces the skip pass, but he's someone who doesn't get sped up, lets the game come to him. Here makes a good extra pass for the open 3. Just plays within the flow of the offense. I said it can be a secondary ball handler, but he can run the point if need be. Not necessarily going to break down his man all the time, but he'll make the right basketball play over and over again. A little bit too much force on that pass, but you can see here he's always patient. You can see him probing, coming in, coming out, handling the ball and passing it out. That being said, he's not the most athletic, over the rim, top of the rim type of player. So you can see here sometimes when the defense gets into a crowd or he gets into a situation, he's not going to be making a play here to get to the basket. Almost 10 out of 10 times, he's always going to be backing the ball out, as we see here. Once he gets into this area again, if he doesn't have a straight line drive to the hoop or beat his man or have a lane to the hoop or off the pick and roll or, a clear outside perimeter shot, when he gets into this area of the court, it gets a little bit problematic for him in the sense that he's going to try to pass the ball. If we go back and look at this one, you know, he kind of has a lane to the hoop, but he wants to make the right play, but just he wants to make that, you know, the pass across the court, and doesn't work for him there. A little too much on that one as well. At the start of this video, I mentioned that only 3 of Dix's attempts this season were runners or floaters. This is one of those 3 attempts. You can see this type of shot is not really in his arsenal. At the next level in the NBA, might be good to develop that type of a runner or floater. That being said, he does stop on a dime really well. And is able to elevate for a good jump shot, which we'll take a look at as well. But just in terms of an off-balance type of shot, one-handed runner, floater, it's not necessarily there. But again, he does have a lot in his shooting bag to make up for it. Some of that change of direction, step backs, change of speed. You can see the burst there. Gets blocked there on the drive. Can't finish, but good size, good body control, good skill. Just a really skilled player who we saw before likes to make the right basketball play time and time again. But if he has a fadeaway in his bag, which it seems like he does, and he has a burst and hesitation and head fakes and body fakes, you know, this is going to bode well for his NBA possibilities, because he's not just relying on catch and shoot, but instead he's able to kind of make plays for himself as well. Misses there at the end, but a nice step back nonetheless. He's able to snake through the defense on these plays, get his shoulders low, get to, you know, a pocket of the court where there's some daylight, and either rise up for the jump shot, the fadeaway, you know, near the basket. Only 23% of his attempts this season came at the rim, but he's able to have a little crossover in his game. Nothing too crazy, but can, you know, get to the hoop when he's not playing against the most elite defenders, can try to make a play, especially when there's no help defense or second guy he has to beat in the paint. A little more than half of his jump shot attempts were in the catch and shoot fashion, and he shot 38% on catch and shoot, and right around 38% on guarded and unguarded catch and shoot jumpers. So, you know, he can make the 3, and like we said, his 2 seasons, you know, his last 2 seasons at Iowa before he got to Creighton, he shot over 40% from 3. So he's definitely a capable 3-point shooter. This year he shot 34% from 3. A little bit of a down year, but you know, other teams were able to focus in on him at Creighton a little bit more than previous seasons when he played with other sharpshooters at Iowa. And I think all in all, you can feel good, really good about Josh Dix's shooting ability. He didn't have the best shooting performance at the Portsmouth Invitational, but again, with the patience and the size at 6'6" and the confidence he shoots it with, you know, I don't feel bad about him shooting shots. Of course, we have to take a look at some of his misses as well, on the catch and shoot specifically. He didn't really hesitate much when he had an opportunity to shoot from the perimeter. More of the hesitation was when he would start driving the ball. But again, he's a very unselfish player, and has good court vision. I think the numbers, 2.3 assists per game. He's a better passer and much better court vision than someone who only averaged 2.3 assists a game. He only averaged a turnover per game. So he's definitely not out of control with the ball either. About 46% of his shooting attempts were off the dribble, and he made about 34% of those. He's definitely capable off the dribble shooter. We've seen him snake through the defense. We've seen him, step back and jab step and fade away, and try to get to his spots using his handle and his movement. Good movement shooter as we've seen. But these are just some straight, simple off the dribble makes. Again, 34% this past season. Not the highest clip, but he's I think going to be a better. I think the film shows that he's a better shooter than his percentages this season, in terms of who he actually is as a shooter. We're going to look at some of the off the dribble misses as well. I don't love that he fades away or has his body moving on a lot of his jump shots. But I also can't knock it too much because it allows him to get a decent look or create separation or shoot over, bigger, longer players as well. He had a low free throw rate, only 1.8 free throws. I think it speaks to his play style. He doesn't necessarily try to initiate contact too much when he's driving to the hoop. Like we saw, he likes to pull up. That being said, he can get to the hoop and finish, but he doesn't seek out contact or play a real physical game as a driver. That being said, he shot 87% from the line, which is only 1.8 attempts, but I think you would feel pretty good about him at the free throw line. We mentioned before that he's a really good cutter and kind of ties into his basketball IQ once again, and just being a really aware player. He's up here at the top of the court, and you can see he's about to go backdoor on Bryce Hopkins, and he did this time and time again throughout the course of the season. Caught guys, going backdoor. His cutting ability isn't necessarily as like a long, guy who has long arms and is a slasher and is able to just use his reach to kind of finish as he gets close to the rim. It's more he creates advantages with backdoor cuts and heads-up plays and is always on the move. He also averaged, I believe, around 33 minutes a game. So he's definitely a well-conditioned athlete and, is able to make heads-up, smart, winning plays, really, these types of plays throughout the course of the game. Again, he only averaged 2.3 assists per game, but along with his patience and his willingness to move the ball, he actually has good court vision, especially on his skip passes. Sometimes he got overzealous with it, but there's one version of the skip pass there. Nice skip pass there. And this makes him kind of dangerous when he has the ball because, you can't just assume he's going to be looking for his own shot. He's able to get other guys involved and, get them the ball where they can make a play. That being said, he does force the skip pass. He tried to do a lot. He forces the pass there to the 3-point line. He tried to do a lot on his Creighton team. He did have some decent guards alongside him, some good guards alongside him. The team didn't experience as much success, I think, as they would have liked to this season. I think it's fair to say that. And you can see another kind of skip pass that was deflected, or he turned it over there. But Dix was in more of a playmaking role this season, not just a sharpshooter, and I think he passed the test to a certain degree, especially on his court vision and trying to share the ball while averaging double-digit points and being someone that the team could count on to make shots. Taking a look at his passing game more broadly or overall, you can advance the ball, and for someone who's has some advanced offensive moves in terms of shooting, moves to get into his shot, it's nice to see him still trying to get his teammates involved and kind of having a pass-first mindset, a little bit too much on that pass there. But to see him have a pass-first mindset in a lot of the cases and to get guys involved, I like. Creighton didn't necessarily love to push the pace too much this season. They didn't get on transition too much. But Dix could finish if he got ahead of the defense, or try to make a play at the rim. Nothing spectacular in transition, but nothing horrible per se either. Over here, he's able to use his handle and his body control, but then he gets blocked at the end of the play. Averaged 3.7 rebounds per game. And he's a competitive player. You can tell he loves to win. He's happy to sacrifice his body. And again, going back to his awareness, he's really locked in when he plays. So it's only going to help him on the effort plays and the 50-50 balls and plays of that nature. You see there, and we'll get into his defense, but he kind of sticks Chase Ross here. And then he knows his work is not done. He's aware, points for the switch, and then he gets onto the big man. He's able to tip it to his teammate. It's a heads-up play there. Effort play as well. All right, so that was kind of an overview of his offensive game. We're going to take a look at his defense. A lot to like on his defense. I think he's a really good off-ball defender. Can chase guys around screens. And on ball, he slides his feet decently. And, he plays hard. So he's a good communicator, and, he's able to follow his man off the ball and fight through screens well. So we're going to take a look at a series of clips. This game specifically against Nebraska early in the season. In the first half, he was primarily guarding Price Sanford. Not here on this possession, but he's able to hold him to 5 points in the first half and only 13 points for the game. Not that Dix was on him the entire time, but despite the loss at Nebraska, in this game I think showed, and Dix didn't really score much in this game. I think he had less than 10 points if I remember correctly, and he wasn't much of a factor offensively, but defensively with all the activity and nonstop off-ball movement that Nebraska played with, Dix did a really, really good job sticking with so many different guys, guarding them off the ball. You can see here number 4, able to get around the first series of screens, continue following. Number 5 switches onto the big there, or onto number 31 in the corner here. Over here he's trying to stick with the screen-heavy offense of UConn, able to get a hand up, even though Braylon Mullins makes the shot. Does a decent job getting around the screen there. Over here trails Osiah Sellers, and is able to get a contest up. Does a decent job there against Mullins. Nothing spectacular in terms of blanketing guys, but still able to, you can see, accelerated really quickly there. He's right over here on the screen. He's down here, able to fight through. And again, clearly a well-conditioned athlete. Back up here, trying to stick on Stanford. And they just can't get Stanford the ball, despite running him off so many different sets of screens. It's just a clip of him communicating really, really well with his team. You can see here, points to his teammate there. We look at it one more time here. You can see here he's going to point to number 5 to stick with Stanford while he's going to get Hoiberg in the corner. So he points, as you can see, then he gets Hoiberg in the corner and is able to force a turnover, so to speak. He's not a perfect player defensively for sure. You can see him up here. Isaiah Sellers kind of beats him. Is able to score a layup. So there's going to definitely be instances in which Dix is a step behind. It does happen. Also, guards who have a stronger, bulkier frame, maybe have a lower center of gravity, play lower to the ground, kind of dig their shoulders into him a bit, use some pump fakes. You can see Nigel James Jr. there doing so on Dix. Does have a step, a clear lane to the basket, but nonetheless, Dix recovers, but James is able to use his skill and power, if you will, to score there. One thing I will say is Dix was a little bit too aggressive on his closeouts. At times, you can see there, he gets beat. Does a good job guarding guys off the ball and sticking with them and fighting through screens, but for some reason he was too aggressive on the closeouts. You can see here on the closeout in the corner. Demery's able to get past him. I was able to find a couple clips where he was sliding his feet decently well, just in a straight up, guarding man-to-man. You can see here, he's able to stick with the big who's driving. Over here, he's guarding Hopkins on the ball, able to keep a strong base, a wide base, despite the foul call. Sticks with solo ball decently there. Gets called for a foul on the switch. We saw this one earlier. He's able to stick with Chase Ross and ultimately end up with the rebound. Or tipping the rebound, excuse me. That's pretty much it for my evaluation of Josh Dix. Plays with good patience. He's ready to shoot it on the catch. He's also can put it on the floor. Needs to increase his percentages, get up more towards the 40% that we saw his junior season, as opposed to the 34% that he displayed this past season from three-point range. So you want him to be a little bit more proficient from three-point range. Continue to, show he can score coming off screens, off stagger screens, flare screens, pin downs. So it's not just more catch and shoot and off the dribble. You want him to be a little bit more active off the ball offensively. And then defensively, continue to guard, be consistent in all the things that we saw on film. And, I think he could potentially find a pathway at the next level in the NBA to help a team if the shot is ready on the catch and the edges of his game continue to iron out at his size, 6'6". I don't see why he can't be thrown into the fire and see if he can hold his own, because he's definitely skilled enough to shoot it, to help a team in certain aspects. Looking forward to seeing him as he continues his basketball journey and at the next level.